Jill Valentine, Chris and Claire Redfield, Leon Kennedy. The Resident Evil series has no shortage of heroes. But for every one of them, there is the occasional character that doesn't quite have the same staying power. Shiva Alomar, Jake Muller, Billy Cohen. The upcoming Resident Evil 9 Requiem co-stars FBI intelligence analyst Grace Ashcroft alongside series mainstay Leon Kennedy. And while technically she's a new addition to the roster, she is a bit of an outlier. Turns out, she's the daughter of a returning character from the less-remembered Resident Evil Outbreak spin-off series, Alyssa Ashcroft, whose existence, or impending lack thereof, helps kick off the latest entry in Capcom's tale of horror. Does Grace Ashcroft have what it takes to be the next big hero of the series? It's too soon to tell, but today we're tracing the history of the Ashcroft family to find out how exactly we got here. From Umbrella cover-ups to the case that finally brings Alyssa out of her PS2 era obscurity and puts her daughter in the crosshairs.
Resident Evil Outbreak follows the dramatic aftermath of the Umbrella Corporation's secret biological weapons experiments. An epic disaster now infecting every citizen of the doomed Raccoon City.
In 2003, Capcom took a big swing with a multiplayer take on Resident Evil built around 4-player co-op and a cast of ordinary people trapped in the original 1998 Raccoon City Outbreak. That game was Resident Evil Outbreak, and it structurally felt almost like a season of TV with 5 different scenarios that bounce around the city. Outbreak, Below Freezing Point, The Hive, Hellfire, and Decisions. Each showing a different street-level nightmare unfolding as Raccoon City collapses. Among the 8 playable survivor characters is Alyssa Ashcroft. Not a cop or military, she's an investigative reporter for the Raccoon Press. The kind of normal, everyday character we haven't really seen in the series so far. Her skills don't center around gunplay or combat. They center around persistence, investigation, paranoia, and a willingness to open doors nobody wants opened. That last one isn't hyperbole. She could actually pick locks and access routes other characters couldn't. Turns out, she's the master of unlocking. Sorry, Jill. This game doesn't have a canon team layout, and the scenarios can branch based on decisions made and what files are collected, but Alyssa's characterization early on is clear. The story of Raccoon City must be told, and she just has to live long enough to tell it. It's not just her duty as a journalist either. It turns out Alyssa has a bit of baggage with the Umbrella Corporation prior to the events of the game. Apparently, she had memories suppressed to cover up an incident in the Arklay Mountains, the forested region outside of Raccoon City where, notably, the mansion from the first game lies. And as the events of Outbreak play out, so too do her memories. She's not just running, she's watching, cataloging, connecting dots. Capcom was certainly doing a lot of experimenting with this game. On top of the co-op nature, the game also tracks infection with a virus gauge, a constant pressure system that adds a ticking clock to your playthrough. Unfortunately, the game was a little rough around the edges. Online support internationally was messy, Europe's release was delayed. Overall, the game landed in the mixed reviews but interesting idea territory. Critics called it ambitious, atmospheric, and kind of a pain. A year after the release of Outbreak, Outbreak File Number 2 arrived. The same 8 survivors find themselves in brand new scenarios: Wild Things, Underbelly, Flashback, Desperate Times, and The End of the Road. The game had a heavier emphasis on branching outcomes, file hunting, and some scenario-specific story beats. One example came in the form of a file titled Memo to Alyssa, a message that reveals she has contacts feeding her information in real time, adding to the scrappiness and mystique of the character. However, more notable is the scenario titled Flashback, where the survivors are drawn into the Arklay area and meet Albert Lester, but you can call him Al, who claims he can guide them out of town before leading them into an abandoned hospital. Inside, they're hunted by a masked axe-wielding killer, as if they didn't have enough to worry about, and the deeper they go, the weirder things get. The hospital has been overtaken by a massive infected plant that's connected to Dorothy, Al's wife, whose condition and subsequent treatment spiral from Umbrella's classic penchant for bioexperimentation. More importantly, if you play the scenario as Alyssa, she experiences unique flashbacks that tie her directly to the hospital. Remember these suppressed memories I brought up earlier? Well, she and a friend had investigated the hospital, and that friend was killed during the incident. Now, the game itself doesn't make it super clear whether the suppression was directly from Umbrella Corporation or simply just PTSD, but she becomes more central to the story as the scenario plays out. Again, despite the first one being successful enough to warrant a sequel, it certainly wasn't a good enough game in the critics' eyes to exist. Now, reviews were allegedly worse than the previous game, mostly dinged for being more of the same without enough evolution to justify its existence. Sales were also the problem. Reports point to Capcom falling short of their expectations in Japan, a market where the previous game had arguably performed its best in. Capcom shut the official online servers down in 2007, which more or less killed anyone's ability to discover these characters and their story. And over time, Alyssa and the other survivors basically disappear from the series. Almost.
You did good, Ethan.
Resident Evil 7 is famous for reinventing the series' tone and bringing it back to its horror roots. The game kicks off feeling like a standalone adventure, minus a big return at the end of the game, but that return isn't the only tie-in to the other parts of the series. Buried in the game is a blink-and-you-missed-it Easter egg. A newspaper file titled Over 20 Missing in 2 Years, dated January 19th, 2016, and authored by Alyssa Ashcroft. The article talks about missing persons tied to the Louisiana area, and it's the clearest in-game confirmation that Alyssa actually survived the Raccoon City incident. No telling on the other 7 characters, though. Oof.
Mom, I'm scared. They're coming.
This leads perfectly, and somewhat tragically, into what Capcom has now made official for Requiem. Described as a new era of survival horror, it elevates a relatively forgotten spin-off character into the backbone of the mainline narrative. The official page on the RE9 site describes Alyssa as a survivor of the Raccoon City incident and Grace's mother. She was a reporter when the original outbreak occurred. She's a strong-willed, determined woman who carried on with her journalism even after the Raccoon City incident, continuing to dig into the truth behind Umbrella. Until... ... That until is doing a whole lot of work there. Now, Grace Ashcroft is her daughter, a desk and data intelligence analyst for the FBI, and is assigned to a case where a dead body is found in the same place Alyssa was murdered 8 years earlier, explains the until. It feels like a professional conflict of interest, but it also heightens the drama, so I'll allow it. Her official character bio notes that the death left her shaken and introverted, and it looks like this moment becomes the emotional fuse for everything Grace does next in this game. Now, it's important to note Requiem is not purely Grace's story. Capcom has confirmed a dual protagonist structure. Leon is also dispatched when a police officer goes missing at the same hotel. Obviously, Leon has far more history to explore, which, we did in an earlier video. And as Capcom's story pitch states, Grace and Leon together must uncover the truth behind the Raccoon City incident. So, even if you aren't familiar with the Ashcrofts, Leon gets to be your familiar anchor in the new game. Given Outbreak's standing in the echelon of Resident Evil games, it's a unique choice to tie a prominent character into the lesser-observed lore of that game. But, should it pay off, we may start to see more lore deep cuts pop up like this in the entries to come. Question for you, are you excited to give Grace Ashcroft a spin, or is this more like a Mary Jane in the Spider-Man game scenario for you? Let us know in the comments below, and for all the personalities in gaming, whether big, small, or just inconsequential, keep your eyes peeled and your flashlights on towards GameRant.